Howdy folks, I'm Slithering Slicker, slimily slithering over smooth stones.
I'm Amber.
And here's more smooth stones for us to slither over. Apparently when I was writing this tongue twister, I forgot that I literally used the word slithering, so we used it twice, but that's fine because...
I mean, I feel like I do that all the time when I write tongue twisters, because the word gets stuck in your head and you're like, oh, that's a great word. And then you're like, oh, I just did that 2 days ago.
Yeah. But let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Accommodate My Neighbor's Aesthetic Preferences? A few years ago, in November, several months after I moved into my home in a woodsy suburban area, my neighbor, we'll call him Joe, asked me to remove the leaves in an area bordering his property. I'd cleared the leaves from elsewhere on my property, but this area, about 25 feet wide by 8 feet long, has many trees and I don't use it at all. So I intended to let the leaves accumulate. Joe said that his landscaper, I don't use one, would be coming in a few days to clear his leaves and didn't want to have to deal with the leaves blowing from my property to his after that. I immediately agreed and spent the next several days working non-stop to clear all the leaves. Joe then asked if I would replace a blue tarp covering my compost bin with a green one or a brown one because he could see it from his house and found it unsightly. I did so, although he didn't offer to buy me the tarp. It was a small expense I viewed as a neighborly accommodation. He didn't thank me. For the next 2 seasons, I made sure to clear all the leaves from the area bordering Joe's property, which required going out several times every week for 2 months to avoid having the leaves accumulate to the point that they would again become a huge task by the end of November. I began to dread autumn. Then Joe began mentioning that he would consider dead trees an eyesore, and that I had 3 in the same area. My view of the trees is based entirely on any threat that they may pose to the property. These trees aren't actually dead, but might possibly be on their way out, and aren't even tall enough to endanger Joe's property should they happen to fall someday. I decided to build a fence to prevent the leaves from blowing onto Joe's property, although the leaves blow in both directions, and told Joe my intention and the design that I had in mind, which I felt was consistent with the local landscape. Joe complained about the design's effectiveness and about having any fence at all. Before I had purchased the property, Joe had built a stack-rocked wall between the properties, but it's too low to prevent the leaves from crossing. He also asked that if I would cut the weeds that grow in the area during the summer. In our neighborhood, there are a number of similar wooded areas between properties that are allowed to accumulate leaves, so I wouldn't be an outlier if I did nothing with that area. Some of the neighbors, like Joe, keep their properties manicured and chemically free of all weeds and insects. Others, like me, mow their lawns and keep things presentable, but are more relaxed about it. There's no homeowners association, which was an important thing to me when I bought the property. I'm confident that I have no legal obligation to do any of the things that Joe requested. I'm considering telling Joe that I've decided not to do anything at all with that area, and if he's concerned about the leaves or the view, he might consider planting a hedge on his property. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. Joe does not live there. He does not get to dictate how you decorate your property.
Yeah, I mean, this is absurd at a certain point here. I mean, I would say that this sounds like a literal forested area between their 2 houses, and he's out there getting OP to go and get them all clean, all the leaves cleaned up out of a forest. Like, no, OP, stop this. Don't do this to yourself. No. Like, this is absolutely nonsensical. Plus, leaves are really good for the wildlife, right?
They are. You know, the pollinators, the butterflies that overwinter and the bees and stuff, they need leaves to sleep under. So when you rake up all the leaves, you're disturbing their homes.
Yeah.
So let them stay and let the butterflies have little blankets.
Yeah, so I think that OP is not required to go into the woods, rake up all the leaves, and then have them, not blow into Joe's property. And again, like, I believe there are laws and that say that any leaves that blow onto someone else's problem is their problem at that point in time. This isn't OP's problem. I don't care if he pays to have his land manicured or anything like that. If you don't want leaves blowing onto your property, then move into the city where there are no trees, right? I think that's the solution. I think Joe would be much happier in a place that doesn't have trees if he's this concerned about leaves, right? So I think this is a poor fit for him if he's this concerned about the wildlife, right? And the flora and fauna. So, and also like a blue tarp, come on. Like he should have paid OP for the tarp if he really wanted that not to be a quote unquote eyesore here.
Which, like, that's so absurd to be like, oh, it's such eyesore.
Again, like you live near a forest, man. Like get a grip. I don't know. I just like this would never fly for any place that I've been. I would just be like, oh, well, thank you for the suggestion. I hope you have a nice day. Maybe you can figure out the leaf situation on your own.
Yeah.
If you want these raked up, then you are welcome to hire a landscaper to come through and rake up all my leaves, right? And like that would be the end of the story for me. I would just tell him to go find a rake himself. Like, no, this is absurd. No, absolutely not. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Sweatpants? My wife stole my favorite sweatpants about 7 years ago. They say Air Force, and I bought them when I was stationed in Texas. I let her know a few times a year for a couple of years how much it bothers me that she took them from me. And every time I take them back, she takes them again. They are now worn out to the point that I don't want them anymore. I am no longer in the Air Force, but I work a job where I still wear a uniform. I picked up a shift tomorrow and need to wash my station gear from my overtime shift today. Her brand new pair of sweatpants were sitting on top of the clean clothes hamper next to the washing machine. So I put them on. Now she's on the verge of tears and won't talk to me because I responded, well, you're wearing mine, when she asked why I was wearing her sweatpants. I did add, I bought the sweatpants as a token of my past time there. They weren't so much a pair of pants as a memory. All right, folks, what do you think?
Not the jerk. I mean, I think now that you know that she doesn't want you wearing her clothes, then like it's probably not a good idea to do that again. But it seemed like you had established kind of a communal sweatpants thing. Like as long as you're not at a size where you're actually stretching out the sweatpants, like if you can comfortably exchange them, I don't think you are wrong for making the assumption that, oh, well, she borrows my sweatpants so I can borrow hers. Now, I think the fact that she is so upset about this, but has no problem taking your stuff, maybe it's time to have a much longer conversation about this, like about the need to respect each other's property and establishing what is okay to borrow and what is not okay to borrow.
Yeah, I feel bad for OP in the respect that I think that OP has a right to their own property and their own possessions, and their wife was absolutely disrespectful in wearing these clothes after OP repeatedly told them not to do that, right? And now the pants are worn out, and OP, had nothing at the moment there and wore the closest pair of sweatpants. And I do agree with you. She kind of established the standard that this was a communal sweatpants situation. I don't know why she would be this upset by OP taking the sweatpants that she clearly had already established were something that was on limits for everyone, right?
Well, it makes me concerned about the relationship dynamics as a whole. Like, it seems like what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine type of situation.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's something that's worth exploring with her and having more conversation about and reflecting, like, are there other places where she takes stuff that you don't want her to? Or is it just this one pair of sweatpants?
Yeah, this is a rules for thee, but not for me situation, where she gets to impose rules on OP. She gets to be upset when OP, takes and uses her stuff. But when OP has his stuff used, she's like, well, it's no big deal. We're, shared. What's yours is mine and what's mine is mine, exactly as Amber said, right? Maybe that there might be a place for couples therapy here for them to sit down and try to work these out. If this is a long-term issue and this is, I guess like OOP has to decide, like if this is something that she refuses to change and that isn't ever going to change with her, then I guess OP has to decide if it's worth, breaking up their relationship over this kind of behavior. And like Amber was saying, this may be something that's even deeper where she just is, disrespectful or will use OP stuff or get upset at OP for using her stuff. So it may not be a healthy relationship dynamic in the end anyway. So maybe individual therapy if she is on the verge of tears over someone wearing her property, and then couples therapy for them to kind of work through these kind of issues here, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like she's emotionally well regulated if she is, breaking down over having her possessions used like this, right? In a way
Yeah.
that was already established was acceptable.
Yeah, well, like if Brian were to try to borrow my clothes, I would be upset only because we're not the same size. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, I wouldn't want my clothes getting stretched out. But, like, if he were to borrow my University of Maine sweatshirt, for example, like, because that's just an adult small, like, I don't think I wouldn't have a problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine to have things that you don't want people using, but you should also then have respect for them and their property. It
Yeah,
can't be a one-sided street.
exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Listening to Bad Bunny? My boyfriend, a 37-year-old male, and I, a 36-year-old female, were on a road trip and listening to Bad Bunny for about 8 hours. This was because I got really into Bad Bunny after the Bento Bowl and just listened to him all day. When we were about to start our ride home, he asked in a friendly tone, Enough Bad Bunny, can we listen to something else now? I was obviously okay with that, and we immediately switched. I guess I should also give some background information here. I genuinely do not have any strong feelings whatsoever about what we listen to in the car at all. And I'm always immediately switching things when he asks me to switch, or I'm fine with whatever he chooses. Shortly afterwards, we were at the bar with friends, and a few of us were talking about how much we all started excessively listening to Bad Bunny after the Super Bowl. He took the occasion to tell the story to a friend at the bar about how we listened to Bad Bunny for 8 hours on a road trip, and then said to a friend in front of me, don't get me wrong, I love Bad Bunny, but not for 8 hours. Again, the tone was very funny and amused, like he was telling a funny story. Well, a month passed, and we were in the car again. I put on Bad Bunny again, not thinking much of it. We listened to the full DTMF album, but skipping most of the songs. At the end, he pretty aggressively turned off the music and said, that's it. This was really unusual for me. It was obvious that he was really annoyed. Then this spiraled into a big fight. He was apparently really annoyed and felt that I should have known not to play it again at all. His original, can we listen to something else, was a clear signal that he was annoyed with Bad Bunny in general. I say 1, it wasn't delivered as an annoyance, just a mild preference. 2, insofar as it was delivered as an annoyance, and then about 8 hours. 3, a month had passed. And 4, he literally told his friends that he loves it just for not long periods. So I acted on the most recent explicit information that I had. Finally, 5, if he didn't like it, why didn't he tell me immediately or ask me if we could play something else? Anyways, he thinks that it was completely obvious that he was really annoyed the first time, and that if I cared about his feelings, I would have picked up on this and not played it for a long time. We had a big fight about this, where I said that he has to communicate better. And I acted on the things that he did communicate and called me robotic for not picking up on obvious signals. Am I the jerk? Edit, I should add that this is a throwaway account. I'm somehow worried that adding this story to my main account will make it more identifiable. All right, folks, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think OP's in the wrong. 8 hours of listening to the same artist might be a little excessive, but I could also see myself doing that. Like, I tend to get in a zone where, like, I want to listen to, like, Kesha and just Kesha. So, I mean, OP may not be the most socially aware. And I'm not the most socially aware. But it's also his responsibility at the end of the day to communicate effectively. And if you have a partner who is not socially aware and isn't picking up on social cues, like, there's nothing wrong with being a little bit more explicit and being like, hey, we've listened to this a lot. Can we not listen to this for a while yet? Because it sounds like everything he was saying with his words was communicating, oh, I got a little annoyed this one time, but I still love Bad Bunny and want to listen to it. And, you know, it's really hard if you struggle with, like, all these little implicit, because, like, not everyone picks up on all the implicit body language stuff that people may do. So it is important if you're in a relationship with someone who doesn't pick up on body language to learn how to communicate with your words.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the nonverbal cues type of thing, right? I think like if OP wasn't picking up on his nonverbal cues, they may not have realized that he was actually becoming annoyed during that car ride, right? And like he may have been annoyed, he may have been, not having a good time, and she may have just been completely oblivious to it. And he might have thought, it's obvious that I'm annoyed by this. Why isn't she, picking up on the fact that I'm just not having a good time with this? But if their relationship is going to work, then they both need to understand where each other's blind spots are when it comes to things like this. And he needs to use his words and give her explicit instructions. And I think like him calling her robotic, and it's like that's just kind of basically adds to the point. Like, yeah, she's not picking up on your signals, dude. So maybe tell her explicitly what you mean, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that she made a reasonable assumption, and like I can understand where he's coming from here. Like 8 hours is a long time, and he just may have been like, I am sick of Bad Bunny at the moment here. I like Bad Bunny, but I don't like it right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's an understandable place to be at. And a month, OP might have thought, oh, a month is a long enough time. Clearly he's ready to listen to more Bad Bunny, but he probably meant like, I need like 10 years before I can listen to Bad Bunny again after that 8-hour long marathon of it, right? And then I'll be good. I'll listen to Bad Bunny in 10 years or so. So I don't blame him for being annoyed, but I do blame him for the way he handled the situation and taking out that annoyance on her without clearly communicating with her that this is bothering him, right? Because, yeah, you're going to get bothered by things. Things are going to annoy you, but you really need to make it clear that that's bothering you and annoying you, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Wanting to Cover Coachella VIP Trip for My Daughter and Her Roommate? About 8 months ago, my daughter asked me if I could book one of our timeshare units so that she and friends could head out to Coachella. We have quite a few weeks, so I agreed, and I booked a 1-bedroom out of Coachella Valley. Then we found a 2-bedroom lock-off and figured that might be better so that she might be able to invite a larger group. It cost me double the points, but I thought a group of friends might be more fun for her. Well, it turns out that only her and her roommate were able to go, and it's too late to cancel the other 1-bedroom. I told her that she could rent out the other bedroom lock-off unit out, and then she could most likely be able to cover the cost of the 3-day pass. Well, she listed it and rented it out for the cost of about 2 VIP passes for her and her roommate. After processing this, I realized that I just footed a VIP Coachella 5-day weekend for my daughter and her friend. I told her that I'm happy to pay for her ticket since she did rent out the other unit, but I feel that her friend should at least be able to buy her own ticket. She feels that since I gifted her the 2-bedroom and her friend helped her rent it, that the money are hers and the friend's to spend. So should I just let it go? I know this is a stupid first world problem, so please be kind. All right, folks, what do you think?
Let it go, OP. I mean, she did what you told her to. She just made more money than you were expecting.
Yeah.
And you did not gift her this. Like, you gifted her use your timeshare points, but you didn't gift her and the friend the money. Like, they had to do the legwork to rent out the room. And so I think your expectations here are a little unreasonable, and I think it's just something you should just write off.
I was kind of thinking about this one. I understand where OP is coming from here, but I think like this perspective here. If OP's daughter and the roommate hadn't found a person to rent out the unit, then this would be a non-issue, right? They would be going to Coachella and they would be basically, there would be no money to trade, right? And he is the one who offered to pay for the accommodations. And so I think at that point in time, like, yeah, he paid for these accommodations. And then he said, oh, well, there's this extra room. You can do with it as you want. You can even rent it out to another person, right? And so the gift itself was the room and the unit that they rented out. So he is now trying to change the terms of the agreement for which he rented things out. And I mean, I understand his disappointment, but I think he needed really to kind of state that if this was part of the contract for them renting that out, that would be the case, that they would have to split the money with him, right?
Well, I also don't understand the disagreement because if they had gotten, just enough room for like how much money they got is, entirely irrelevant to OP. Like they'd gotten just enough money for the daughter's VIP pass. Like it's no different a situation. They just managed to get more money.
Yeah.
And so why are you so upset by the idea of her friend also staying in that room?
Yeah. So I think that that's really kind of the crux of it. Is like, I think that OP is kind of just viewing this wrong. They gave this as a gift. They told them what to do, and they didn't put any strings on any of this. So I don't think they should be upset by the amount of money that they were able to get from this. In fact, I mean, I would be kind of being like, oh, well, good job. Enjoy your vacation.
Well, that's
right?
the thing is like you can just think about this as look, your gift has now made it so they both can have a ton of fun at Coachella.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Why do mummies like presents?
Well, mummies like presents because daddies like presents, and that's because everyone likes presents. And like, also, if you're a pharaoh and you're being buried in a sarcophagus, then you're gonna want to have a lot of like gifts and earthly possessions surrounding you for the afterlife when you're being on your trek to the wherever they go in their journey to the land of the dead or whatever it is.
They love the wrapping.
Ah, yes, that would make a lot of sense. And I have Mega Mint. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, fantastic Friday, folks. I hope your Friday is off to a fantastic start. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on being a good neighbor.
To be a good neighbor, don't make unreasonable demands of your neighbors.
Yeah. But thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!